Hey, welcome back to Spellstorm Miniatures. My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Dan.
And this is Chad.
Hey guys, it's really good to talk to you again. I feel like we haven't talked in a while.
Yeah,
It's true.
And we snuck in an episode. We had some special guests on episode 30, and it was pretty cool to just hear from Perry and Scott, some of the sort of the old guard, I guess, in our community. So they offered some really good sound advice.
Yeah.
So listeners, if you haven't listened to episode 30, just go back one episode and give that a listen. But we are Spellstorm Miniatures. We are a podcast dedicated to tabletop wargaming, and we love War Machine and Hordes by Privateer Press, and that's mostly what we talk about, but we play a lot of different kind of games too. So, gentlemen, have you played any other games recently in the last month or so since the last time we talked?
Dan's over here shaking his head.
Yeah.
I got to play a game of Song of Ice and Fire at the open play that we did back in January. I played against
Nice.
Bob, who played Baratheons, who I'd never played against before. I haven't played against Bob or Baratheons. I've seen Baratheons played a little bit, so I kind of knew some of the stuff they did. But I went into it face first, like I do with a lot of stuff. I was like, ask a couple of questions, and then I'm just like, all right, head first into this. It was a good old fashioned slugfest. It was there was a really funny moment early. See, he went first, and then I got first play in the second round. And so what I ended up doing is I had a similar list I had played before with a couple of alterations to get a couple extra NCUs. And one of the NCUs was Arya, the Wolf Girl. And her once per game ability is you can flip her card over at the start of a round, and you can have one unit make a free maneuver. So I targeted my unit of Umber Berserkers that had Rob Stark in them. So he gives them +1 speed. And so then they're speed 7. So I maneuvered them.
Wow.
And then for my activation for the turn, I put Arya onto the horse, which allows you to pick a unit to maneuver again. So I picked that unit, but with Rob Stark attached to the unit, if you pick them for the maneuver, you can charge instead of just maneuvering.
Mm-hmm. So you got a free maneuver.
So I got a free maneuver, and then I got a free charge into his unit of,
Nice.
I think it was the Baratheon Stag Knights.
Do they have horns?
Yeah.
They all have horns. They all have horns. Have you looked at Baratheon models? The only ones without horns are the NPC or the NCUs.
I love the horns, honestly.
So I got to charge into him, and so I made some attacks, and he played a card that let him, he used an order that let them counterattack. And he did a pretty good amount of damage because the Umber Berserkers have bad armor but good morale.
Okay.
And so after he did, I had Ned Stark as my NCU, who starts with 3 order tokens. And after a unit passes a morale check, you can expend a unit token or one of the order tokens to heal wounds to that unit. So I did that, and then he made attacks against me. And then it came back, and I did the same thing, and I came back to my turn, and I think I placed another NCU to make attacks. So the short of it, we just beat each other to death until it was literally Rob Stark left in the unit, and he had one guy left in his unit. I made a round of attacks. As Berserkers, I still get my full.
I know.
They get 10 dice
That's
because
weird.
they get more attacks as they become less models. So I made my round of attacks. Obviously, he failed all of his saves, and then he played a Baratheon card that lets them make an attack before they're destroyed.
Yeah, like the
And
last
so we
stand.
just killed each other at the same time. It's hilarious. We
Dude.
expended a couple of cards, a couple of
All the
orders,
resources just
and I
all
would
in
just
on
sit there and just beat the crap out of each other and just killed each other at the same time. And I was like, well, that was
awesome.
exciting.
That's awesome.
But it was a good slugfest game, and we actually ended up going the full number of rounds, and he ended up winning because he still had part of a unit of, I think it was the Cutthroats, Bolton Cutthroats, or something like that.
Oh, because Baratheons can take
Yeah, they can take neutrals. The only people that can't take neutrals are free folk.
And that's what I play, so
Yeah.
I don't even think about that.
And I only had Grey Wind left, so he had more because Grey Wind was worth 0, and he had a unit that was worth points. He ended up winning because he had more points on the table. I was like, well, that's dumb, but it was a really good game. It was a good slugfest.
On that day, I showed up and I just watched games. I wasn't actually feeling. I brought my army, but I wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? So I just hung out and had a great cupcake because Judy made good cupcakes.
Yes, she did.
But it seemed like all the
those were speed baked that morning. By the way,
that was insane. They were
and they looked pretty.
They looked good.
She was
and
like,
they
"Don't."
tasted good.
She was like, "Don't judge me. I speed baked them this morning." I was like, "Judy."
Speed
too
painting,
hard.
speed baking.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's incredible. Okay, so, but it looked like all of the games that were being played that day, they were just open battle. There weren't any like scenarios or objectives or anything, and so, but it seemed like there were varying levels of experience as well. There were some new people.
Yeah, there were a couple of Judy and Bob's friends that had like played a couple of demos and like gotten some models, but hadn't played a whole lot. Like Judy and Bob, of the people that were there, I think Judy and Bob had played more games than just about anyone else.
Oh yeah,
So there was a lot of like teaching and stuff that they were doing to some of their other friends that hadn't gotten the chance to get out and play games, or but they were interested in the game. So that was super cool.
Yeah, I think so. Before we leave Song of Ice and Fire, you guys know who Duncan Rhodes is. He was the the Two Thin Coats guy from from Games Workshop, Warhammer TV.
Yeah.
So probably like the most famous painter in the world or something, because like everyone was watching those videos.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't play GW games, you know. And anyway, he left GW in December, and so he's been making the rounds on podcasts and giving some interviews. And if you listen to them all back to back to back, you realize that everyone asks the same questions and he gives the same answers. So you just listen to one of them. But
don't waste your time listening to all of them.
No, you don't. It's not a waste of time. I like him, and so the interviews were fine. But no, what I wanted to say was he's been playing Song of Ice and Fire, and he's been painting them, and he has a lot of complimentary things to say about the game. And so I think for a lot of people who don't play historical miniatures, but want to get somewhat of that feel, this is a great way to do that. And so you don't even have to like the IP, and you get a good quality game.
Yeah.
And so and that's the thing. I've never read Game of Thrones, and I've never watched the TV show, but I really like the game.
Yeah.
It plays really nicely.
It's got a really solid rule set.
It really does. And I feel like they've been taking care with minor adjustments along the way.
Yeah.
I know 1.5 recently dropped, and so there were some rule things that I had learned that day. Bob was telling me, at Run Award that day. So yeah. Let's see. Also that day, I think it was that day. I don't remember if it was that day or not. Might have been a different day. But Oz and I. Oh no, I think it was the Food Machine Day. Maybe. I don't know. Oz and I were at Rune Board, and we got a demo game of Riot Quest in with Eli. And so Eli was there, and he's more familiar with the game than we are. And Oz has had a couple games, I think, with it. And so we got a chance to play that and kind of see what it is like. And Riot Quest is a fun game.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
And you got to use all my nicely painted models.
They were gorgeously painted. They very but
hashtag humble brag.
Yeah. So anyway, but we still haven't picked up the starter for that. And I know recently Privateer Press announced that season 2 is going to be coming, and I think the target is Gen Con. Yeah. So, and there'll be a second starter. I have to get the first starter for Oz because there's a model in there that he really wants for the big game, and I don't remember which model it is. Is it a Gobber Tinker in there, or is there a
No? I mean,
is there a frog in there?
There's Gubbin.
There's Gubbin, the guy,
who is a Gobber.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
Flugwug, the frog comes in one of the expansions, the treasure pack.
Yeah, so Oz wants to collect like all the frogs and like all the gobbers.
Okay.
He has a thing. He has a thing for frogs. So, and I have a thing for rats. And so like, if there were rats in the Privateer Kingdom, Iron Kingdoms, I would run a whole army of rats.
Well, I mean, we don't really know what's over in Zoo, so
that's true.
We also with the, it could be something interesting to explore in Riot Quest, because because it's in the
The alternate
because it's
timeline.
in
Yeah.
the future. It's
Yeah.
just it's the destroyed world timeline. There's totally a possibility that there could have been some like rat folk hanging out under the
Yeah.
that we never knew about.
that we never really knew about.
Yeah.
because there wasn't very many of them. Or I mean, there's always lots of rats, but
Some weird chaos
or maybe
magic.
or maybe there's
released.
some sort of like maybe the rats in the regular world get mutated somehow or something
Exactly.
like that from some cataclysmic event. Anything could happen.
That's something I would like. I could dig on that. See,
Yeah.
say I have a
You just want to play Skaven in every game.
I want to play Skaven in every game. You're absolutely right. So,
You know, you can build a rat magic commander deck, right?
no, let's talk about that.
Okay, we can
After
talk
the
about that
podcast,
later.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about that later.
Yeah, there's totally lots of rats.
Okay,
There's-
let's hang out there. That'd be
Giant
great.
rats. Man.
So, okay, well, how about any War Machine games? You guys play any War Machine games? Chad, you and I got a game in. Yeah, we did.
We got to play a game at the food machine. Which
Yeah.
is the first time that we got to play in a while.
In a while, yeah. I was running Xerxes 1, and you were running Morvana.
Yeah, I was running a Morvana 2 list that I've played a couple of times.
Before we get to the game, I want to say every single model except for my 2 extollers were painted.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
very
I
nice.
just want to put that out there, listeners. Curtis. It looked really nice on the table because
Yeah.
obviously your stuff is painted. We were on those thematic tables and Runa board, and for the most part, it was a lot of fun. It was a
Yeah.
grind fest. There were some like grindy moments there.
There's a
Yeah.
well, so there was a charge lane opportunity that you had that I didn't really see to get Tiberian onto Morvana 2.
Yeah.
But it was this weird thing to unpack because close to it was my Primal Archon, and he needed like a little bit of extra distance. He needed Bulldoze and Rush at the same time, which you can't have.
Right.
But there was an opportunity that he could have used Lurch to move Tiberian forward, but he had to move in a very specific way. Otherwise, he ends within the
Command range of the
not the command range.
the counter charge.
It wasn't
right?
it wasn't the counter charge because
Oh,
there was a way that you could walk into my back arc and avoid the counter charge, but you would still end your movement within the like 6 inches to get shadow bound. So then you
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to charge. So it was just like this weird opportune area denial placement that I had that I didn't really realize, and so it was this weird thing that we had to unpack. And short of it was he managed to get Tiberian onto Morvana, but needing 8s to hit.
And we
And
used
I
all of
had
our
3
tickets.
transfers, and we used our tickets to
So I
force
had,
each other into
I had
rerolls.
one. I had one roll left where I could have done it, and I basically came one roll short of putting Morana in the dirt.
Yeah.
And it was awesome that we used all of our food machine tickets
Yeah,
just
it was funny.
on that exchange. It was hilarious. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then did I use Repulse? Is that how I cleared the path for him?
No, you.
That's one of my favorite techniques. I love just walking up somewhere and pew.
There was
Yeah.
there was a place that you were able to end and just barely get.
Okay.
I think you managed to kill the one Ravager that was kind of in the way,
Yeah.
but I don't remember.
Yeah, and then let's see. So that was a great game. It was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And then and
then you failed the assassination,
Yeah,
and I killed Xerxes with Ravagers.
finish the story. Yeah. Well, as one does, right?
Yeah. I got to play in the most recent Steamroller. I
Nice.
only played 2 rounds and then I ended up dropping because I went 0-2. Spoiler alert! But I was playing this Tanith list this Tanith Secret Masters list that was really interesting. I thought it looked really fun and cute, and it had Scythe in it. The drawback was that I ran into Michael Burks playing Kalissa in round 1 with the Trident, and so that was a bad time that I ended up losing. And
I mean,
and then
playing
round
Michael
2,
Burks is fun.
Yes,
but like playing
absolutely.
his armies,
Yeah,
that's
no,
different.
I haven't played against Tridents enough to figure out exactly how to deal with them. And I had a round if Kalissa didn't have her feet up and I would have been able to charge it, I think I would have been able to kill it because I managed to get a lot of damage onto it. I think I left it on 6 boxes, and then I just didn't have anything left on that side of the table to be able to deal with it. But I had Hutchuck come in, throw a rust bomb, hit, walk over, and then hit it and do a little bit of damage. And I had a Black Clad with Scything Touch on it, who walked over next to a Shifting Stone, and then phase shifted 12 inches to get into melee with it to drop its armor another 2. And then I had 2 Crook Raiders on that side that were able to, one through an oil bomb and then the other one through a dart, and I did a bunch of damage to it.
I love that.
And
I
then
love Crook Raiders.
Scythe actually walked over and put 4 shots into it and did a bunch of damage, even at dice off 6 as a weapon master, getting up to 4 shots. And she's rat 8, so I needed like 4s to hit or something like that. So, yeah. But the +2 armor that it gets from the front arc and not being able to charge it, if I would have been able to charge it with Hut Chuck, then I think I might have been able to do it. I also had a Warpwolf Stalker that was on that side that could have charged and killed it and finished it off had I been able to charge it, but Callista's Feet is such a good denial feat. And then it was a slow grind where Burks just wiped pretty much everything off of my side of the table.
That's what happens.
And then the second round, I played a game against Andrew, who was playing Exelon Thexus. And so I was playing against another list that had like a bunch of eyeless sight sprays and things like that. I'm like, cool. So all my defensive tech
Gone.
doesn't do anything. And again, like Scythe did some good work. Wolf with no name wasn't really able to do very much. And the 2 games taught me a lot about. I think the list is more cute than it is good. I still don't really like the Well of Orboros. Like, I know a lot of people are super head over heels for it, but
haven't unlocked it yet.
But a single range 14, POW 14 gun that doesn't go anywhere, I just can't get over and it was constantly in my way. Like, I can't move through it. It was constantly in a place where I was going to have to move around it and expend a bunch of a bunch of movement or weird deployment because I wanted it to be a certain place, and the single shot just wasn't holding its own, and it just doesn't fit my play style. And
that's fair.
Yeah,
and maybe it's something you can table for a while and then revisit.
Possibly, yeah. But I had to go second both times in that list, which was another thing that was like, oh, cool. I'm going second against 2 fast gun lines, or
Yeah.
It was tough.
I got to do something fun. The Masters League is going on, and JC and Harry were in the same pod, and they had to play against each other. Mm-hmm. And so they set up a game at Harry's house, but they needed like an independent person. And so I came over there and I set the terrain and set the table for them. And then I even got to make a judge call. And that was pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see. I think...
was it about JC's dice?
It was... No. It was... I think it was more of a line of sight issue.
Okay.
But we had Makeda 2 versus Baldur 1. And they were playing King of the Hill. And... boy, I can't remember. I think JC did end up winning, I think. But it was fun to watch, and it was fun to just shoot the breeze. And, and Harry's a great host, and, he has a cool table to play games on. And so I think there was a little miscommunication. I think they expected I would come over and also play a game, like bring Oz with me or something.
Oh.
But Oz was busy that day or at that time. And then, I didn't have, my brain wasn't focused on games. My brain was focused on work. Yeah. And so... it's hard to play games when your brain isn't there, especially War Machine. So, but one thing that Oz and I did get to do is we finally started our Oblivion campaign.
Oh yeah!
And so we did the first prologue last week, and he decided to start with the Trollbloods, and so he ran a full unit of Fen Blades with the UA or whatever, and I think that's 20 points. And then I decided to run 2 min units of perforators and I don't know the names yet.
The spear guys or
no, the 2 medium based. The ones that
so
have
there's not reciprocators.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Perforators and reciprocators.
Yeah,
the ones with the shield and the spear, and then the other ones with the assault, with the cool Iron Man, glove or whatever. So I went into Conflict Chamber, and this was before the CID fully dropped, and and I made my list and printed it out and tried to be all official, right? And then, but more importantly, it also gave me the theme benefits, which said that those specific units actually get vengeance in the theme that I chose.
Oh, cool!
And then so Nas had vengeance, and I had vengeance, and so it was a vengeance off, and then. and then the other thing that I did was I went to the Private Press website and I printed off the cards, and so I just printed off the cards, and then when we showed up at the table, instead of putting 2 min units on the table, I promptly put 2 max units on the table, and so Oz didn't stand a chance. And and so it wasn't until later that we were talking it out, and he was like, "Wait, how many points was that unit?" And and I was like, "Oh, it was 10 points or whatever." And he was like, "Yeah, that's for the min." And I was like, "There I go again. I'm cheating. There's a theme here. I can't win if I don't cheat."
Right.
But anyway, it was.
That's okay. Oz needs to be knocked down a peg or two every now and then. He gets pretty full of himself when he starts winning War Machine games.
Yeah, he lets you know. Yeah. So anyway, what I did was, since it's the prologue, I gave him the choice of whether to be the attacker or the defender in the next game, and so we're gonna run 25 points, and I'm not sure when he's gonna make the switch over, but at some point he's gonna start to run Cephalix. But I'm committed to running Convergence all the way through the campaign, and so I'll play Scorn regularly, at the store and whatnot. But when I'm playing Oblivion, I'm gonna run Convergence. So
Yeah.
that'll be kind of like my way of learning the army.
Yeah.
So
scratching that itch a little bit.
yeah. It's good. There's so many great things to play in this game.
Yeah.
And you don't always have time to play all of them. And so when you do something like that, it just kind of creates space for that.
Yeah.
So,
I've been trying to figure out what to play, and I'm just not really feeling Circle right now. And I don't have.
well, I gave you a bunch of pirates, didn't I? Or what did I give you? Merc stuff.
It was some mercenary stuff. It was a couple of pirate things. The tough part is, unless I start playing at smaller point values, I have just enough stuff to build a mercenary list that kind of works.
Oh, okay.
But not anything super effective.
Still need some stuff to flesh it out.
There's still a lot of stuff that I need to get, which I actually placed an order. It worked for a unit of precursor knights, so plus a unit attachment, because I'm going to try and start building towards some Flame of the Dark lists. I've already got a Thammarite Archon and some other stuff, and then actually last night I was working on. I was doing a test model for a paint scheme for my mercenary stuff.
Okay.
With Crixbane base as the primary color, and then coal black is the secondary color, and then because I can't get away from it, and then using molten bronze for the edges of all the armor and stuff, and then actually for the cloth I'm going to use amethyst rose. So there's kind of
I love
red,
that color.
a rich red. Yeah,
That's
I love that color too.
Yeah, that's the new one that came out last year's Lock and Load. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
beautiful.
and I got Crixbane base, and I painted Leadfoot and Treads, and then Boss McHorn in it, and I just really like that kind of dark bluish green that it has. And that's what I decided I wanted to do my mercenary stuff in. I think it's going to look really good on some of the Marwan models and stuff too. Yeah. If you highlight it, or if you do all of the accents and everything in the molten bronze, I think it's going to look really good with the Marwan insignias and stuff that's on all the armor. So
Nice.
Less filigree.
Yeah.
So we've got our topic today is faction reviews.
Yep.
And so why don't we get to that?
Not at all the factions we were talking about.
None of them, indeed. So yeah, and what we decided to do for this is we would just take 2 factions at a time. We're starting with 1 War Machine faction and 1 Hordes faction, and we're kind of going in the order of Privateer Press. And we basically have 3 questions. The first question is, if you were to start playing this faction, which caster or warlock would you choose first? Which theme looks the most interesting to you? And then which model do you want to paint the most? And so our 2 factions today are Khador and Legion.
Yep.
Ooh, all right. Hey, Dan, why don't we start with you? And let's start with just Khador. Why don't you...
A couple of factions that are near and dear to my heart, actually. So quick aside, when I got into the game, I started with Circle. My buddy Nick and David were the ones who kind of got me into it. This is years and years ago. Nick's brother actually used to work at Guardian years ago, and he was getting into the game as well. He was playing Crix because he always plays Undead. And so he actually gave me my first demo, and it was just Crix versus Signar, and I was hooked instantly. And when I got into the game, I was getting into Circle because I love werewolves. My buddy Nick was playing Khador, and David was playing Legion.
So you faced off them off a lot.
Yeah, some. And then eventually ended up getting into each of those factions to learn more about them. And then also because I felt like I could play them better than my friends did. And so those were the first two factions. Yeah, those were the first two other factions that I started exploring. And I've played them and owned them a couple of times since then. I'll talk about that more later.
Nice. All right. So Khador, Dan.
All right. So these are two factions that I haven't owned any models for.
Ooh.
They might be nearly the only ones.
What?
Besides Grimkin and Infernals now. Yeah, so Khador, I was kind of looking at, and the main, I guess, caster I was kind of between a couple was Sorsha 3 or Vlad 2, and I think Vlad might just be a little bit more classic
Okay.
Khador. So
All right. And Vlad 2, he's not on a horse. He's got he has the epic base, right?
Yeah.
That he's on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do...
looks cool. Yeah.
We each answer the first question, and is that how we're doing this? Round robin, first question, and then second question, and third question?
Sure.
Okay. So Chad, what caster, if you were to pick up Khador today, which caster would you start with?
I have a hard time picking. I actually struggled a lot with both picking a caster and picking a theme force for both of these factions because I've played both of these factions.
Yeah.
And there's so many cool ones. When I played Khador competitively, the last time I played Khador competitively was in Mark II, and I played Sorsha 1 and Butcher 3. And so those are both casters that are very good and kind of near and dear to my heart. But there's also a lot of other really cool ones, like all three of the Vlads are interesting. Irisk 1 is super cool.
All right, feet to the fire. Feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Pick one.
This is the trouble. Those casters have changed a lot since the last time I played
you
them.
gonna hit me off?
It might be Irisk 1 or Sorsha 1.
Okay, flip
Which
a coin.
one?
Which
Choose.
one?
Sorsha 1 just to freeze everybody.
There
Yeah,
it is,
there you
yeah.
go. Plus the charge, cast a spell, then I attack over here.
Yeah.
Shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah, but she can't do. It's not as bad anymore because Khador got hit biggest with charging your own stuff and then moving to do something else, or they were like one of the biggest perpetrators of that whole thing because you had Sorsha 1, Sorsha 2, and you had Butcher 3 doing that constantly, where they're like, I'm going to charge over here to extend my threat, and then actually I'm going to move and then do something else.
You saying Khador abused attacking their own people in order
Yes.
to further their goal?
There's a reason why there's something called the Khador Arc Node, which is just one dude that's out of formation for you to throw buffs on.
Or Winter Guard.
Caster hanging out at the back of the table.
Oh man.
All right, Jeremiah, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with so I used to own Khador, and I sold my Khador last year to get to lock and load and to buy a airbrush and a compressor and things like that, right? Things that I wanted for the hobby. And so I'm gonna pick the last caster that I played because I had a lot of fun with him, and that was Vlad 1, and mostly because of a certain list, which I'll reveal in a couple minutes. But so if you were to so second question. So if you were which theme looks the most interesting to you in Khador?
For me, is Man of War. I mean, they're just big,
Yeah.
tanky, cool-looking guys. That's kind of... If I was to do Khador, it would, a Man of War list would definitely be one of them. I mean, their other themes, are neat, and, we can always talk about the Doom Reavers or just big old, getting Jacks in there. But Man of War, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of Iron Men running around.
It's unique. There's anything like it in Iron Kingdoms.
Right.
Yeah.
I struggled a lot with this too.
Okay, before you Dan, did you make any Man of War lists?
Talk about your Man of War.
All right,
We gotta
before
give
I
Chad
drone
some
on
time
it.
to
All right.
decide.
Yeah, you got to think a little bit. So taking
I'm
Vlad
having a lot of
2
fun with this, but it's a great episode.
and Man of War, I kind of net decked this a little bit because I've played against some other lists, and this is kind of similar. Basically throwing in some some jacks, either a Victor or maybe a couple of the what's the dudes with the sledgehammer fists with siege weapon?
Marauder.
Is that the Marauder?
For the jacks.
Because
Yeah.
that one scared me to all death when I was running a Sea King, right? I'm like, I got to stay out of range of that guy. Then throw in like the strike tankers, the suppression tankers, of course. Some battle mechanics just to repair everybody up. Of course, the siege chariot or assault chariot, sorry. And then some like shock troopers and demo corps to kind of round it out pretty nicely. And that's basically the list. You just have a bunch of tough, slow-moving armor that's going to
come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Dan, Chad, you want me to go first before you, or are you?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
No, I have a list built. The list.
Okay, all right.
The list I built is not actually really a Khador list. It's the Flame in the Dark list that Matt McWaters played at Warfare Weekend.
So you actually wouldn't play Khador.
That's the
Khador Light.
let me say my piece real quick.
Do your thing. Do your thing, and we're gonna poke at you. And so are our listeners.
That's fine. I've always kind of had trouble with theme forces because they push you so much in a certain direction, and I understand why they exist. I understand why Privateer moved in the direction that they did because it helps with game balance. It helps make game balance easier if you really only have to look at theme forces. Khador and Circle are both two factions that I feel like struggle a little bit with their theme force restrictions. Khador especially because none of the theme forces I feel like give you a good smattering of like what Khador has the actual real potential for. Because there's such a combined arms faction and you've got all of your theme forces are so focused on one thing. Like you have Winter Guard Command where you've got a bunch of guns that are like on cheap infantry. It's like playing guard in 40K. You've got a bunch of low stat dudes with guns, but you have no real melee presence. You can play the Iron Fang theme and you've got no guns. You can play the Man of War theme if you want to play something super tanky, but again, it's like super slow moving. Yeah. You're going to lose to any hard control or scenario.
That's a really
you don't have very much ranged presence.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Doom Reaver list, which is like you don't get to put any of your buffs on it, which Khador is all about. Like if you look at almost any of the casters in Khador, so many of them are about buffing their troops, and you don't get access to any of that. And you play Wolves of Winter in two different ways. You either play Doom Reaver spam with like Vlad 2,
right,
or you do the Zerkova 2 spell assassination. It's like this great divide of like the Khador themes feel more like skews than any other faction, and it bothers me because I don't like playing like that. Yeah. There's so much other stuff that is really cool that can work well together with Khador that you don't really get to play with the focus on themes. And you can play stuff out of theme, but if you're playing competitively, you basically have to play theme or you're 18 points down compared to everyone else. And that's a hard comeback from.
So I want to...
And that's why I struggled so much with building these theme forces.
I think your comment about Khador being a combined arms faction is actually a really good critique. And as a former Khador player, that's something I never got to experience.
Yeah.
And you're really touching on that.
Yeah. And like you can supplement some of those lists with your mercenary choice and things like that.
Sure.
But even if you throw Valachev and you make him friendly faction, you're paying a premium for that mercenary faction, not only because of their points, that faction points, but also for Valachev. But then also that unit that you put into the list is not really going to get any of the theme force benefits. So it's almost a detriment to not just like all of the Khador themes just really feel like they really accentuate that more good stuff, pile on more of the same good stuff. And
it's a spam faction.
Yeah. And
like the Stalingrad list is like how many, like 80 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to so tell us your workaround, like where's your compromise? It's with the Flame of Dark list, right?
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, like this was a big critique when he played the list. It's like there's only like one Khador model in this actual list. It's Zerkova 1 with a Lancer and Gallant, and then there's 2 Marwan Archons, 2 Thamorite Archons, Savio Acosta, the Hermit, Ragman, Alexia 2, Gabriel Thorn, full unit of Vigilance, and a full unit of Precursors with unit attachment. And like you used to see a lot of Ragman and Alexia 2 in a lot of Khador lists and
Right.
stuff in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these other pieces kind of take the places of other key Khador things, and you could probably do something well, and you can't really even do something similar to this in any of the other theme forces because you only get one mercenary option.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
So you picked a Khador list with one Khador model.
yeah, I
That
did. I did,
actually,
unfortunately.
Honestly, that's actually kind of brilliant.
Because I mean, that's also what like that's the way that my my Khador lists were in Mark II. Like my Sorcerer 1 list that I used to play had all of the snipers. So it had, Cal Baylock, Eris 1.
Yeah.
It had a unit of Widowmakers and like all of this other stuff. It was it was a little bit of a spin on the Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 13 list that Nigel Brooks had like created years and years ago. That was really just about Sorcha controlling the field and then just using snipers to kill pretty much everything. And there was only like one unit in the list or something, but it was just tons of solos. And the Butcher 2 list was not quite that bad, but I think it was Nis Hunters and Pikemen, which you can't really do. I mean, I suppose you could do in the Iron Fang theme if you wanted to. You can kind of get there, but the restrictions to specific character jacks and various theme forces, and also
Right.
Butcher 3 is just not quite the same that he used to be. He really lost out big on like not being able to charge his own stuff. The change to Energizer made his non-linear threat much, much smaller.
Yeah.
But
Which is nice
there was
for
a
the
lot
rest
of
of us.
yeah. I mean, it's
I've
it's
been
good
Butcher
for the
3
game.
to the face before.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary for game balance purposes. But
So
it was so much fun to play Butcher 3.
So I made when I think of Khador, like the only thing I want to run is Jax. And
Yeah.
like I mean I appreciate the Man of War, I appreciate the Winter Guard, but I just want to like just big steampunky things, right? And so Jaws of the Wolf has always been my favorite Khador theme. And so the list that I made is actually a variation of the list that I took to the last I5 that I went to. The Greylord adjunct wasn't out yet. And so I made a little revision to include the adjunct. And just because the list is sort of an all-comers list, the way that it's designed, this is something I dojoed with Ron. So the way the list is designed, I've got 4 solos, 4 units, and 7 heavies.
Nice.
And so it's like,
Yep.
so I can, you got a lot of armor you got to chew through, and I can do a lot of different things, and I'm not out on scenario because I have stuff to play in the scenario. So I've got Vlad 1,
Yep.
and obviously for Signs of Importance, but also for his feat,
Yep.
which doubles up all my, and his battle group is 2 Juggernauts and 3 Marauders, and so that's awesome. That feels real good. And here's the secret tech. Greylord, Forge Seer, 2 of them marshaling a Berserker each. And so now what I have is several sources of magic. And so I can handle some things out there, because now I have, magic can come from Vlad, magic can come from the Greylord Force Seers. And I also have ways of clearing troops, because I can just send a Berserker in, and I could take out half a unit with, depending on placement, with a Berserker,
Yeah.
and be very, very, very focus efficient. My other solos are the Widowmaker Marksman and Yuri the Axe, and then Yuri the Axe, who will live in infamy, winning my last I5 game. And then my 4 units are a min unit of Battle Mechanics, Kayazi Eliminators, 2 of them, and then which are now free, I guess, in the theme, so that's pretty cool. And then a unit of Wintermaker Scouts, and so I've had so much fun playing this list, and a year and a half ago or whenever, it wasn't a great list, and I don't even know if it's a great list now.
Yeah.
But it's a fun list, and it's the kind of it's what I want to play, and it includes all of the stuff that I bought first. Like my first unit I ever purchased was Widowmakers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So it's
You
like
and every Khador player.
every single Khador player. Yeah. And I love the Greylord Adjunct. And the Forge Seer and what they bring, and of course Vlad Signs of Portents just makes things fun. So,
Yep.
and then, in a POW 19 axe to the face is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think the theme gives Pathfinder now. I
Yeah.
used to have a Kodiak on the list, but now two Juggernauts with Pathfinder sounds pretty sweet.
Yep, right there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the static bonuses of the Theme Force now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't Khador saying kind of axe to face?
That's what we say. So,
Yeah.
hey, so all right. So now the last question. I love our faction reviews, by the way. So we get a little bit in depth, a little bit into the weeds, and then we come right back out and it's fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
So which model do you want to paint the most?
So I originally was going to say the Butcher Claws from the mini crate, but as
That's a
kind of
pretty
going
good model.
yeah, as reading the list and kind of rethinking about it, and actually hit me on the idea on the way over is if I had some bombardiers, the Man of War bombardiers with the
yeah.
axes,
Yeah.
just paint them like lumberjacks.
Yeah.
Put some flannel on them.
With their
Maybe
rocket
mold-
launcher chainswords.
Exactly. Maybe mod some hats on them, little logger hats, and
All
yeah.
right, I like that. All right.
That'd be pretty good. I actually have an answer for this.
Okay.
The new Behemoth model is fantastic. Like it really feels like the embodiment. The old model was weird, especially the first cast of it. It was all metal and it was balanced on a single foot. And it's like, come on,
Yeah.
guys, what are you doing? But the new model has a much more bulky look to it, and it was one of the early models that when they were redoing all the character jacks at the beginning of Mark III.
That's right. I remember that.
Making them a little bigger. You had Thunderhead, Deathjack, Behemoth, and Avatar. And Avatar needed it probably more than any of them, but the Behemoth just didn't. It just kind of looked a little goofy. Didn't quite look the way that the art did, and the new sculpt of it looks fantastic. And I'd love to be able to paint that up.
I'm gonna say none of them.
No,
Because you've done them all.
No, that was the problem. Like, I was looking at this mass of plastic and resin and metal and whatever, and I loved the game and I loved playing it, but I was like, I don't want to paint any of these.
I don't wanna
did
paint
not
red.
want to paint a single, a Man of War. I did not want to paint any. I was just like, I'm done. And so most of mine were primed and had the arcs on the base and, or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know.
You did get on your Forge Seer, that was...
I did. I painted the Forge Seer, and I painted my Kel Blaylock. There were a few things out there I did paint, and I thought my Forge Seer turned out all right. I've learned a few things since then, and so if I were to redo it, I would do it differently. But I don't know. I wasn't so inspired, and I'm still not all that inspired to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe I would repaint the Forge Seer and do it better than the first one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Overall, sounds like we kind of all have some different opinions on Khador, and there's apparently a lot to offer for Khador that not so straightforward.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I think having these crossover themes brings new life into
hugely.
So. So our next faction to review today is Legion, and so Dan, let's start with you. If you were to pick up Legion, which warlock would you choose first?
All right, so one of the factions I know even less a little bit about. I was a little bit torn because Animag looks pretty neat. Obviously, the kind of came up with the Primal Terrors theme and that whole idea. But lately, I kind of want to feel the power of like Callus One.
Oh yeah,
I think he just does stuff that none of the other factions I really play or can do. The feat's just really busting for trying to get through. Like, oh, you killed that guy, cool. I'm gonna put this high defense guy in front of you.
Yeah,
Have fun.
yeah. Okay, all right. How about you? Which faction? Which warlock would you start with, Chad?
I ended up picking Thags 2 as well in Primal Terrors, but I struggled building that list. But
Okay.
eventually, I think I figured out something that it seems like it'd be kind of fun to do.
Okay. Yeah, I chose Veil 2 in an Oracles list for something very specific. So
Yeah.
why don't I start, and then
Sure.
we'll go the reverse order?
Sure.
Okay, so I chose, and so for my second question, which theme force, it's Oracles Annihilation. And the reason why I chose Oracles is because minion models can be included in it, and they gain Blighted Keyword, and they can be replaced by an Incubi
Oh, that's right.
when destroyed.
Yep.
Another thing that I get to do is I can also take a Sacro Vault into the list.
Yep.
And so this is my Legion list with Veil 2 and Oracles. The battle group is, and this is the fun part, Afflictor, and a Carnivian, a Nephilim, Bloodseer, and a Succubi. And then for my
Wow,
solos,
that's super light.
I know. But it's the Afflictor juice. It's going to be good. So anyway, Afflictors never get seen, right?
No, they don't.
And so,
Surprise.
but
Mostly because they're super awkward model.
right. But he comes in and just okay. And then so my requisition points 2 Incubi, so I have 10 of them, right? And then the Black Frost Shard. Max unit of Nis Hex Hunters with Bale, and Bale is my third requisition there.
Yep.
A min unit of Bogtrog Ambushers, and Pharaoh Valkyries to help keep the Sacravolt alive, and then the Gatorman Boker and Bogtrog Swamp Shamblers, and then the Sacravolt. And so the point of this list is to maximize all the magic stuffs, and to see a lot of Incubi on the table.
Yeah.
And then of course, just because I could, I wanted a list to include a Sacravolt, just because I could. I don't have any thrones, and so to be able to take the minion, battle engine in my Legion list sounded pretty fun.
What were you?
So,
what were your requisition points? It was Bale and
then 2 Incubi. So you get 5 for one or whatever.
Okay.
So. And so those obviously don't start on the table.
No.
They come in later, and it's like, oh, hey, what's up? So it's cool. I threatened Ozzy with the list, but we haven't actually put it on the table, so it's okay. It'll happen.
You'll have to get your minions back from him.
I just gave him the pigs. I have all the gator stuff.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Which is funny because when you originally started Minions,
split it,
you're like Pharaoh.
I was really into the Pharaoh, yeah. But I don't know. I want Ozzy to have good stuff to play, and I was, and I had a lot of picks, and so now he can do whatever he wants when that crossover list theme comes out. And,
I just realized that that makes it
what
from a little kind of funny lore standpoint. It kind of makes sense that Pharaoh and trolls would go together because they both eat everything.
Yeah.
Just about.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Until right now. It's like,
Yeah.
Anyways,
Legion.
yeah, Legion. So I ended up making a Primal Terrors list with Thagrosh 2, and I wanted to try and build a decent sized battle group because he has Manifest Destiny, and then his feat also allows all of the war beasts in his battle group to make a full advance and an additional basic attack, which also benefits from Manifest Destiny. So
Nice.
I have Thagrosh 2, Amok the Truthbearer, 2 Shredders, a Nerif, a Seraph, and a Scythian. I've got 2 Forsakens, a Warmonger War Chief, 2 Hellmouths, a full unit of Warmongers plus the Goreg Ratnai, and then a max unit of Chosen of Everblight, because Thagrosh actually has a armor buff spell. He's got Dragon's Blood, so gives a model unit plus 2 armor, and when the effective model is disabled by a melee attack, they suffer corrosion. So tossing that onto the Chosen of Everblight, making them super high armor, pushing them up the field and really hard to deal with. And then once they either start dwindling, then you throw it onto the Warmongers, who also have Unyielding. So then they get stuck in there, and then they're armor 20. And if you manage to still kill one of them, now you're corroded. So there's a chance that you get killed. Plus, their new unit attachment has no quarter, so it gives them Pathfinder, extra movement,
nice.
So you can really get them up the battlefield. But I forgot that they were only Mat 6. I thought that they used to be Mat 7, and maybe they were before they gave the War Chief Veteran Leader. But so I ended up having to adjust my list a little bit and put the War Chief in there. But he also benefits the Chosen of Everblight because they are still Blighted Ogren models.
That's right. I love the Primal Terrors theme. Yeah. I love the Ogren. They're just really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Legion has a lot of really good and cool infantry, but most of their warlocks don't really do much to support them. Yeah. So kind of the opposite of Khador.
Yeah.
I mean, Animag does some stuff, but I always felt like Animag was always a little bit shy on Fury. It's like the Madrak condition, right? I only have 5 Fury. But I have like a cost 3 spell, a cost 2 spell, another cost 3. Like,
but she also has a way to cast a spell for free.
Exactly.
So
there's some openings
that's
there.
where that balancing factor is.
So yeah, Primal Terrors is pretty neat too because mine's built slightly differently. You know, Callus 1.
So you went with Primal Terrors too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
cool.
so Primal Terrors. Again, because there's a lot of options to it, and it's pretty good. So the Blightbringer, because again, Blightbringer is just really fun in there.
Yep.
Amok the Truth Bearer, Spell Martyr, 2 units of max Blighted Rotwings, 2 units max Chosen, and of course one of the greatest requisition points, Hellmouth, and another Hellmouth.
Yep.
Heyo.
Well, that sounds like Andre's list.
Yeah, it's probably very similar. You know, all these lists I'm sure can get very similar when you start putting them out. But basically, I mean, one Hellmouths are Hellmouths. If you've heard Legion, you've probably heard them, and they're just pretty brutal. Yeah. The Chosen are very strong. You know, I've played against them a few times and just trying to whack away at them, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I did 2 damage to you," and they roll like a D3 and heal like 3 damage. You're like, "Oh, so you not only healed my 2, but the 2 my buddy did." Cool.
That's how I feel facing against champs, by the way.
Yeah, hey, they're a little different. At least they just move the damage around. They don't heal it back.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you mean against Ravagers, because Ravagers do that crap all the time.
All the stuff. So I'm gonna counter your Ravager with my Chosen.
Although now with some stuff that you can get like a no healing ward on them or something, or grievous wounds. But and then Blighted Rotwings, they're just mainly there to be, feet, pawns.
They're incredible.
Yeah,
those models are incredible.
Yeah, like I said, you just get them where they need to be.
Yeah.
Finisher.
They get killed, and
you have
Finisher's so good.
Yeah, Finisher on there.
And then you have Dark Guidance as well on Callus. So
yeah.
Makes everybody hit more accurate.
So it all has some annoying pieces, like I said, and then you start clearing them out, and then all of a sudden, Incubi pop up, and then you're like, all right, deal with that, and then you still got this Blightbringer back there spitting down, hey, -2 armor to you, and minus some strength to you, or
Yeah, Callus does have some fun Incubi play. That's cool. That's cool you did that. That's cool. Well, which model would you want to paint the most, Dan?
I'm actually gonna slightly veer, and go to a different large base. Is probably Lilith 3, right? Riding the chariot with the arrows and the horse, and stuff like that.
The reindeer.
The reindeer, yeah.
Hey now.
Yeah, just kind of looks neat. Has a lot of different variations and options you could do to that.
Yeah,
So.
I like that. That's cool. What model would you want to paint the most, Chad?
Torn between 2. There's a Thags 2 conversion that I did when I owned Legion years ago, where I replaced his little wings that are kind of folded down with Angelius wings, so they actually are like more spread out. They look better, so he actually looks more draconic. But it might actually be Azrael because that model is so gorgeous.
Yeah,
and it's got the serpentine lower body, it's got the wings and the arms and the spears and stuff like that, and then it's pretty heavily armored too. Yeah. So I think that model I would probably definitely want to paint.
That's cool. I don't have him yet. I think he's a last character beast I don't have. I think
he's also super expensive. He's like 21 points or something like that.
Yeah. So the model that I want to paint the most is actually a Scythian, and not just a Scythian, but the one that I have, because my wanting to play Legion started several years ago when I saw this lonely Scythian primed sitting in the used bin at Guardian Games when they still used to sell used War Machine, and I was like, what is that? And of course I was so new, I had to ask around some of the War Machine guys. I was like, what is this? And I bought it, thinking, okay, this is a long-term goal for me. This is something that I'm going to work on. And
Now you're finally getting around to it.
well, they don't stop. I played Khador for a long time.
Yeah.
His wife listens.
So but she knows because later that year when Guardian had like their Black Friday sale or whatever, they had a Legion Army box,
Oh, yeah.
heavily discounted.
Yeah.
And so she bought that for me, and I was like, oh, thank you. So yeah, so she knows. She's good. But yeah, so yeah, well, that was cool. So it sounds like we have a lot more love for Legion than we do Khador. But I don't know how that happened. But
What are you talking about? I love Khador.
yeah, I mean, I do too. I mean, we all do. But okay. So yeah, so every once in a while, we're probably doing like an every other. We'll do another faction review and in a couple. And I hope that these are interesting for you, and I hope that we inspired you to maybe put something new on the table, or maybe inspired you to pick up something new to paint for your faction. So, or to paint that even isn't part of your faction. But speaking of painting, what are you guys painting? What are you building? What's on your hobby table?
Right now, I actually got out my airbrush and played with it, mainly just air. But
Nice, actually.
yeah, I tried putting some actual like stuff in there and realized I need to really learn my control. I need to practice on it a bit before I paint anything, because it's definitely a little bit of getting used to. And then as I was cleaning it, I bumped the needle.
Oh,
Oh no.
It still worked. It's not super bad. It was just the slightest thing. I was just like, really, the first time
yeah.
I get this. So I haven't used it since then. So we'll see if it's working all right. I mean, yeah, if so, I guess I'll just take a new needle. But anyway, trying to work on some of my Monster Apocalypse.
Nice.
With a little bit faster way to paint them, but still make them look kind of nice. So that's my Martian Menace should be ready to come out and play very soon.
Very
Nice.
cool. Very cool. Oz will hit you up on that.
Yep.
I've got 30 Poxwalkers still sitting around that are started.
Nice.
I've been haven't really been motivated recently. I'm dealing with some life stuff, focusing some other things happening, as I haven't really gotten any painting done. Last night I was working on some painting. I did a first mock-up model for my Mercenaries theme color scheme, and then I also started working on my Thamarite Archon, which has been sitting primed, ready to go. While I've been trying to figure out the paint scheme that I'm doing, but it looks really cool so far with the amethyst rose for the robes. So like the big flowing robes that are tucked underneath it as it's like jumping backwards. So I'm hoping that the rest of it comes together nicely. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do for the wings yet, and I hope I don't mess them up. Although recently I did also last week I painted the non-metallic Newman, the Aurora mini crate model. I painted it up for
It's a gorgeous one.
For Aaron Allen. He
Nice.
got one off of somebody and then just had it sent over to me. So I painted it up and then sent it with Jeff to take with him to Thornwood Throwdown this past weekend. And Aaron played it up there, and he was really happy with the way that it turned out. And I was really happy with the way it turned out. I went with I think I used Meridius Blue for the dress, and then I used Rillic Gold for like the raised edges, and then I washed it with the violet shade from Citadel, and it turned out pretty nice. And I did a couple of dry brush layers on the wings, and then I did some cool blonde hair that was I think it was Khador red base, and then I dry brushed sulfuric yellow over top of it, so it's kind of like a reddish blonde, and it turned out really nice. So
Nice.
Saw that looked nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm going to be touching up Convergence as I play them, basically, and just kind of giving them new arcs, and because some of the stuff I got used and we're in different various stages of completion.
Yeah.
And then, as you can see on the table in front of you, I've got some Romans, and so I'm talking to Jesse about that, figuring out how they're supposed to go there. So historicals is kind of a weird enigma for me at the moment. I haven't figured out exactly where I fit in that yet. So,
Yeah.
but the biggest thing is I have two big things. One of them is since our last episode, I'm trying to figure out how I want to do a portable hobby kit based on some of the things that Perry and Scott were talking about, and so far I've painted at other places recently, and I've been taking just like the bare minimum of things, but then but I know there's probably a better way to do that, and so cause I just put them in a box, and which is fine, but there's got to be a better way to do that. But the biggest project that I have in front of me is actually the house. So we're getting new flooring in like a month or something, and so I have to, and we're gonna paint before then, the walls and windows and everything, and so I'm gonna be packing up a lot of things in boxes and storing them in the garage while when the flooring comes in, and furniture and things like that. And so most of my hobby stuff and most of my armies are going in boxes.
Yeah.
So I ordered some trays from Battle Foam to put the rest of my Legion in those cardboard boxes, the stackables.
Yeah.
I love those. And so I have a shelf in the garage that's perfect for that. And so that's sort of what I'm doing now. All my books, and we went to Home Depot last night, a bunch of moving boxes, and we were walking out, and the lady at the register was like, she's like, "Good luck. I promise you, it'll end. The moving doesn't go." And I didn't have the heart to tell her that we're not actually moving. We're just we're kind of moving.
Prepping for moving.
It feels like we're moving. So anyway, so that's sort of what's on my plate, and so I think I'm going to be the master of small projects for several weeks. Got to be putting things away. But hey, before we go, we briefly talked about the casual day for Song of Ice and Fire and at Runa Board. I just want to put a huge thanks to everyone that came out to that event. Thank you for Chad and Judy for organizing, and for Runa Board for hosting. We like to participate in fun events like that, and hopefully we can get a few more things in the future. But I also wanted to say thank you to everyone who participated in the Food Machine event, either by actually coming and playing, which there weren't very many people who came, but that's okay, and but also by the donations. I cannot tell you how many donations, how much in donations we received from folks that weren't able to make it to the event. And so like the Monday after the Food Machine event, I went shopping, and I went to the grocery outlet, and I packed the back of my car, like that storage area,
Awesome.
And so much food was given, and I think it's an incredible testimony to the generosity of our community, but also just the closeness, and we play a game, but we're also friends, and we realize that there are people out there who are in various conditions in life, and some of us are a little farther down the road than others, and so when we're in a position to help, we can, and we do. And so thank you to the War Machine community, and to the folks out here in the PNW, and I feel happy and proud to be a part of it. So but,
I want to. Do you mind if I talk about two other things real fast?
No.
Okay.
Oh wait, yes.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yes, you mind.
Yes, I do mind. No, I don't mind.
Two things. There's a Winter Rampage event coming up at Runa Board that I'm hosting this coming weekend. I've got one spot left. You can find the info for it on the Cloud Collective.
I want to do that.
Yes.
And
I want the model.
The other thing too is right now going on at Runa Board, I organized a painting competition. So submissions are already done. Voting is going on right now. The theme of it was Big Baddies, so it was 50 to 120 millimeter. We got about twice as many entries as I thought we were going to get. We got 20
cool.
entries.
That's really
cool. We
cool.
got a wide variety. We got like 5 different game systems that are represented, because there's D&D miniatures, Monster Apocalypse, War Machine, 40K, and then there's also one model from Marvel Crisis Protocol that's in there.
Oh, nice.
And it's a very nice range of skill levels and different themes and stuff like that. So I'm really thankful to everyone who participated. And I'm working on a schedule for the other ones that we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the year. So the way the schedule is going to work is the voting is going on this month. Next month in March is going to be a cooldown period, and then April is going to be submissions again, and then May is going to be voting, and then it's going to be a cooldown, submissions, voting, cooldown through the rest of the year.
I like
and
that.
so I already have the other three categories that we're going to do. Let me grab my schedule real quick, and I will tell everyone. I should have grabbed it beforehand, but I didn't think about it.
I was gonna say we can kill the dead air time real quick to shout out to the tournament this last weekend with our local Ben getting second, looks like, and then Jeff getting best in Grimkin class.
Yeah, and that was at Thornwood Throwdown.
Yeah,
Nice.
So April is going to be submissions for the giant robots. Is going to be the next category. So 50 millimeter to 120 or 50
Finally,
millimeter
Monbach.
up.
We could paint a Khador model now, finally.
Yeah, exactly. And then July is going to be submissions for Adventuring Party, which is going to be 3 to 6 models that are 28 millimeter up to 50. So the idea is like either
Their theme, they go together or
yeah,
whatever.
like it's a group. It's a group that's all traveling together.
Like my Frostgrave Warband, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. You could do like your wizard, your apprentice, and like a couple of other like a couple of your hired soldiers. And then October is going to be the submissions for Diorama. So I was talking with Sadie, who's one of the owners of Runaboard, about doing a cool diorama of like maxing out a size of a 6x6. You can do smaller than that if you want, but doing a diorama piece. And I'm going to officially get it announced like on the Facebook and the Instagrams, but I want to get it announced so that people have time to work on it. And I think it'd be really cool to do some sort of a scene because it's not done very often. And there's lots of different things that you can do. There's lots of different ways directions that you can take it. You can do just a single model. You could do a group of models, so on and so forth. So
Okay.
those are coming up later in the year, and I'm excited to see what else we get.
Nice.
And it's a painting competition, but really it's paint something that you're proud of and then come show it off. So I encourage everyone of all different skill levels and styles and things like that. I encourage you to submit something and show it off. Because that's what it's about. Because you'll still get a participation prize, even if you don't get the first, second, or third for the most votes. And it's popular vote. So it's not necessarily critiqued on style or quality or anything like that. So I encourge...
So like Magic players come in and, I like that one. Boop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I submitted a piece. My other coworker, Emery, submitted a piece that they worked on. And some other people in the War Machine community, some other people that we just had come in that frequent the store that play, D&D at home, or come in for Magic occasionally. Like we had a couple of D&D miniatures that got submitted by people that don't frequently play miniatures games. So,
all right, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the community building there. Hey, I want to thank everyone for listening to our show today. We love to hear from our listeners. Give us an email, spellstormminiatures@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook painting group. You can join our Discord server. And actually, a lot of the conversation happens on the Discord. And our links are found in not only in our show notes, but also on our website at spellstormminiatures.com. Hey, we want to inspire you to play more. Thanks.
Thank you.